Hello, welcome once again to eXPU Lab. I'm Brian Ellington, Chief Learning Officer for eXp Realty, and I am joined today by my friend and fellow Austinite, Elizabeth Riley with Lux Property Group in Austin, Texas, one of our biggest and brightest influencers and attractors to eXp. Elizabeth, thanks so much for joining us.
Absolutely. I'm excited to be here with you.
So thanks for doing this, first of all. We always appreciate you taking the time to do this and helping other people on eXp build their rev share as well.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
So just quick temperature check so people understand, how many people in your org roughly today?
You know, I don't really look at that number on a consistent basis. I'm pretty close to 11,000 last time I checked.
Holy cow, that's amazing.
72 on my front line.
That's so interesting, isn't it? That many people in your org with only 72. Well, I shouldn't say with only. That's an amazing accomplishment in and of itself.
Well, it is, but not when you've been here 9.5 years. And if I was a recruiter or a team leader, I would have been fired, right? So those are 72 relationships I've built over time. And you love on them and you help them succeed, and you help them. eXp helps them succeed, and they evangelize how amazing this company is, and it just grows and expands from there. And then you have 11,000 people globally.
Yeah, and it sounds so simple, but it kind of is, right? You just focus on that first line and everything else will happen. I'm curious, with 11,000 folks in your org, on the topic of three-way calls, how often are you doing three-way calls?
How often are people asking me to do them for them on their behalf? Right now, I'm anywhere from 15 to 20 per week.
15 to 20 per week. Now, yeah. I'm imagining with all your experience and all that, you probably used to do three-way calls. Do you like ask other people for three-way calls? Do you still ask other people to do three-way calls for you as well?
I do, especially if I'm trying to. I don't really attract to my front line really anymore, because there's an opportunity for me to help others build and grow, and we all still succeed together. But even if I am attracting to my front line, I won't do all of the heavy lifting, if you will, because my vantage point is a little bit different than somebody else's. So I will always bring in a different perspective, whether it's a different personality or something that the agent I'm talking to is aspiring to be like, or their business mimics, or they came from a similar company. I will match what that looks like and bring in the appropriate people. But for other people that's why they pull me in as well, because I'm still in production. I'm a top producer where I am. I'm an icon agent. And so there's people talking to others around the country that want others to understand what that could look like and what that process is, or I have the gift of hindsight. So I will bring in other people, or if I'm not the best person to talk to somebody, I usually know who could be, and I'll reach out and ask them.
I love the question and the way that you phrase it. When the instructional design team at eXp University goes to create a course, one of the things I always tell them is upfront, I give them the Mike Tyson quote, which is Mike Tyson said, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth, right? Everybody comes into a training program thinking they know a lot about the topic, and oftentimes it's what they think they know and that they're doing that's holding them back, right? And in this kind of conversation, there's a lot of people who make the assumption of, yeah, I know eXp. When you ask them, okay, what do you know about it? It really forces them to admit out loud, not very much. And I also love that you're asking them what's important to them in the conversation. We have so much at eXp that you could talk about. And if you tried to cover it all at the end of 6 hours, they'd be asleep and you'd be parched, right? So really focusing on what's important to them. I love that. So,
and also understanding all the resources and the things that you have. I mean, like, your team is amazing. This morning I was on a call with somebody that's looking to come over, and they have a team. And I said, well, tell me how that team structure is. That's another thing. All teams are not created equal, outside our company or inside our company. Tell me what's important to you. And what I found out is they have a lot of agents that are new agents. They love to mentor and train and coach, but they rely on him. I said, where's all that training and coaching come from? Me. Great, you're one person. Let me tell you about a program and a resource we have called FastCap. So being the agent that's on the verification calls or validation calls, you need to understand what all we have as well, and what resources and training that we have, because I spoke about FastCap this morning, and that got him all excited because he was like, oh my gosh, that's unbelievable, right? So if I didn't know about FastCap, or if I didn't know about all the lead options in Revenos, and if I didn't know about luxury, I don't have to know everything about everything, but I have to know enough to create curiosity. and to continue the conversation and to say, you know what, I don't know all the ins and outs about this, but this could be a really great fit. Would you be open to talking to my friend Brian, who, or my friend over here who's really focused in this area or knows Revenos really well, or you know what I mean? So you're still wanting to create that curiosity. You don't have to know everything about everything. You have to know enough to be able to be a true sponsor and to be able to add enough value to continue the conversations forward.
Yeah, and be a connector. And I'm curious, how do you stay edified? I mean, we do so much, just in the university, I struggle to keep up, and I work with that team. How do you keep up with all the things EXP that you know of?
I think it's my job as an owner, right? You own something, you treat it differently. We're all owners. I show up at every event. I'm going to be on the front 2 rows at every event. I'm going to show up to the trainings that we have. I'm going to read all the announcements that we have. I'm going to cascade that information out to my leaders and to my agents, right? I'm not going to just hold all that information. I want everybody to know what we're doing. And so we own this company. It's not up to everybody else to keep us, plugged in, and we have to show up. And I can't want something more for somebody than they want it for themselves. And this is a business. So that's what I do. I am incredibly blessed because of this company, not only financially, but even more than that, relationally, right? And so I take that very, very serious. And another reason I stay in production, I have a story, and I'm not saying you have to stay in production, but it helps for verification calls because I am in production. I've done a lot of things. I'm doing what the model was built for, right? So if I'm not staying on top of things and learning as much as I can and sharing that out, then I'm not going to be a very great third party to bring in. And I'm going to have to rely on a lot of other people. So we're all stronger together. And as long as we have our different strengths and gifts that we can bring to the conversation, I want to make sure I'm a part of that.
Yeah, that's great. And I'll give 3 resources just right off the bat. EXP Explained. It's a great, and it doesn't take very long to watch that. You can go on to the EXP website and watch that yourself. The Agent Newsletter goes out every week at the beginning of the week. That's got regular great content about the new things coming out from EXP. And then Big Agent Meeting. We do that every Friday. We regularly have people coming on talking about the various programs that we do and various offerings, services, and that. And then also, too, we have top agents come on and share about how they're building their business and their various specialties as well. It's a great hour to spend just learning in your own business, but specifically for this. So I heard you say, for lack of a better way of saying it, needs analysis. I heard you say kind of matching the things that you can bring, the things maybe your upline rev share org can bring, and then the things that EXP can bring, understanding all of that. And that's connecting with people in your upline as well to understand their specialties. And then where does that conversation go from there? Are there typical objections or hesitancies that you find yourself addressing more often than not in calls?
I don't really, because if I'm asking all those questions up front and I'm addressing them in the call, I will say, what questions have I not answered for you? And they'll either say, well, I have another question, or they'll say, no, I think you've answered everything. And then if you say, okay, on a scale from 1 to 10, after our conversation today, how likely are you to partner with us? Not how likely are you to join EXP? How likely are you to join my downline or organization? I don't talk about those things. How likely are you to partner with us? Because I'm trying to get them to understand that we're owners, right? It's not a job, or it's not a, being under an umbrella or somebody else. You're a partner, you're an owner. And I don't talk about EXP all that much because it's really not about us. And I think that's what people think, oh, you just talk about EXP. I don't do presentations. We've got amazing resources in marketing, and EXP Explains and resources like that and PDFs. Well, that's awesome. But if I'm just talking, then I'm not learning and I'm not understanding what's important to Brian. And so if I can understand up front in that conversation, our calls, I block them to 45 minutes, right? Because I want us to get in and have a conversation and be intentional. So if I ask all the questions up front and I answer what I think the questions are, and then I say, what have I not answered? Then I can answer those. Okay, how likely are you to partner with us? Or what are the next steps for you? Or what does your time frame look like? But I've already asked those questions. And then when they say, you know what, I think I'm ready to come on. This is exactly what I needed to know, or this is what I need to know more of. Okay, well, then those are our next steps. Let's connect you there. And then when they join you and they partner with you, be a great sponsor. Plug them in. Make sure that they're plugged into all the groups. Make sure they're in the workplace groups. Make sure they're in, like for Austin, I make sure they're all in the Austin Metro group because we're super tight. I want to include them in everything. Make sure you're inviting them to the happy hours. Make sure you're inviting them to AHAs or online trainings or anything, because the more involved and invested and connected they are, then they feel a sense of belonging instead of being on an island. And so I focus really on loving my people and teaching them how to love their people, because then everybody wins. But you don't want to be the sponsor that just brings somebody to the company. It's a relationship. It's not a transaction. And make sure that they're connected and plugged in, because if they thrive and they're super excited in our market and they're our model, then they're going to tell everybody and you're going to have more calls. I get excited when I have 15 to 20. Oh, we've got 25 calls. That means people are really interested in what we're doing, and we're making a difference and we're making an impact in people's lives. So once they come on board, love on them and plug them in and be an amazing sponsor. But if they're not ready, no problem, no pressure. I would love to continue inviting you to some of the things that we do all the time. They're broker blind. Come to some of our trainings. Come to our ha-has. Like, we'll invite you to whatever you'd like to be a part of. If that would be helpful, would that be helpful? Yes, that would be great. Wonderful. And then we'll just keep inviting. You invite people to things, then they recognize and they see the culture and they see what we're about instead of you telling them, because it's much more powerful if they experience it themselves.
Yeah, that's a great point. Is there anything else in the call itself that you do that I didn't ask you about?
I don't think so. No, I'm just building rapport. I'm building rapport. I'm being a resource. I'm, letting them know, you know what, if this isn't a fit for you, at least I now know you in the Denver market and now I have a referral source, right? Or if I'm going to be up in Denver next time, I'll invite you. And so there's always ways you can still stay connected. And it doesn't mean they have to join right now, but that doesn't mean that they won't down the road. So if you approach people with like the relationship and, hey, I just want to give you information. I'm not just trying to recruit you, right? Like to the company, it goes over much better. So I just ask a lot of questions, and I'm just being present and staying in the moment and understanding what that person needs. And I'm like, okay, we have 45 minutes together. So it's not just going off in tangents, but no, I'm just very intentional with our time together.
Cool. After the call, is there anything that you'd recommend either for those EXP agents who are doing the primary attraction, or those folks who are those validators for the validation call as a follow-up to the call?
So that's, I think, going to be personal preference on that. For me, what I do is I don't want everybody to have my cell number. However, if it was a call that I feel, hey, this is a great person that I think is going to come to the company, I will tell them, hey, you know what? Let me be a resource, get my cell phone number, and I'm happy to connect with you at any time. And so they'll put me on a 3-way text. And then it allows me to still stay in touch with them when I think of things, right? Because if you might not know of an event and I think there could be something of value, then I can still keep them like in relationship or in conversation moving forward, coming up alongside you to support that. I don't always do that, because you know those people that are not engaged and not ready, and that's fine. I don't need everybody in the world to have my cell number, but most times I will offer to have my cell number to keep it as a resource, and I'll check in with them from time to time. But I also tell the agent, make sure you just love on them and send them a text. Thanks so much for your time. And send them a handwritten note. Thank you so much for your time. Whatever that relationship looks like. But I don't like getting on cold calls. I won't do cold calls. You've got to do the heavy lifting up front before you bring us in, because we're not using anybody's time wisely. But just follow up is key. Okay. Follow up is key.
Any parting advice you have on the topic of validation calls for folks who are trying to build their RevShare orgs?
Just ask. There's a lot of us that do them. There's a lot of us that are willing to do them. You don't have to have one of the top attractors in the company to do them. right? There's not a checkbox or a list that you have to go through to be a third-party validator. Any of us can do it for each other, right? I've got agents in my market that have been at the company 2 weeks. Oh my gosh, Jacqueline, will you come share your experience? I know you came from this model, right? So I think what happens is, well, you're in my upline and people kind of stick to that. You don't have to just stick to your upline. Find people that resonate with you, and they don't have to be the top attractors. Sometimes it's better when they're not, right?
It's true. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think sometimes we get focused on the wrong things, and it's, oh no, I didn't even think about this person or who came in. And I'll tell, like Brian, or somebody came from Compass. I had never been anywhere other than Keller Williams prior. I can't speak that language, but I can bring in somebody that was with us for a year or two. Hey, can you come in and talk about the differences on this model? Would that be beneficial? Yes. It doesn't have to be somebody that's a huge producer. It doesn't have to be somebody that's a huge attractor. It's just somebody that you feel is going to connect relationally. And there's so many of us that are willing to do that. And so many other people that haven't been asked that I guarantee are willing to do that.
So, a question I would ask agents who are watching this is, do you truly know your upline? Do you know where they came from? Do you know what their specialties in production are? Do you know what they love about EXP? We recently had Matt Fettick join us, who is a multi-franchise owner with the Red Kool-Aid dispensary. And, he was shooting love notes over to us saying how thoroughly impressed he was with the onboarding process and the transaction coordination process and things like that, because that wasn't his expectations. He had been misinformed by his former things. And so he came over here and was just like gleefully surprised. And I thought to myself, man, the next time I have somebody who has that particular concern, I want to get them in front of Matt and let him just completely dissolve away that fear. But yeah, do you know your upline well?
Well, and that's a good point too, as far as different models too. I don't talk about competition or imitators or any of those things, right? I don't get into that because I can't really speak their language because I haven't been there. I was at Keller Williams, but that was almost 10 years ago, right? I can speak high level. Our validation call is not to destroy the competition or talk about the competition. Our call is to focus on what's your business look like, what are your goals, and how can we lock arms and partner with you to help you get there? Don't focus, even if they bring it into the conversation, it's like, you know what, that we can talk about later, and I can bring in somebody that's focused there. But here, let's just focus on you right now. What's important to you? So I think sometimes people get into that too, comparing, well, this is what they do and this is what we do. And don't do that. Just talk about what we do and how we can align with them in the ways that's important. So it's fun. I'm meeting great people all over the country, and it allows for our story to even get bigger because people are paying attention to what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I like it when they're coming to us and we want the people swimming towards the boat, right? Instead of chasing people. I don't chase people at all.
Yeah. I always think of it like your little brother or your little sister, right? You know how annoying they are. You know all their flaws. But the second some kid down the street says something negative about them, what do? You fly to their rescue. And you don't have to do that. You just ask them great questions. They'll tell you all their pain points that they have. And then it's about connecting them with amazing people like yourself. Because you're right, this company is amazing, but it's not, a building or a website. It's the people within it, and just understanding who those people are in your world, in your RevShare org. And even I know, Family Tree and things of that nature. We have so many amazing people like yourself who don't care about RevShare orgs. They care about growing this company because karma, right? So speaking of karma, thank you, friend, as always. You've got some good karma coming back my way to you. I don't know how yet, but I will.
Oh my gosh. Brian, you guys are amazing. What you guys are doing in the university program, and oh gosh, you're making it easy for us actually, right? You're helping us tell the story in a better way. You're showing up and people are succeeding, and you don't have to tell anybody anything when people are succeeding. Others just feel it and are flocking to it and bringing people together. So I appreciate everything you guys are doing. This is the best company to be at now more than ever. I mean, when I first came, we didn't have all this stuff, right? We didn't have all these resources and tools and people to attract to. And so now you're just making the conversations easier. So I appreciate you.
I will pass that on to the team because I am just a pretty face and
That's
they are
right.
doing amazing things. All right. Hey, thank you so much as always.